Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with a Khorne vs. Tzeentch showdown. It's going to be the Exalted Bloodthirster facing off against Kairos Fateweaver, the big chicken himself, coming in with the filthy, filthy pendulum. So the key, at least in my opinion, to dealing with the pendulum, and it's a little bit OP right now, certainly can pretty much one-shot any infantry unit, is to not bring any infantry in your starting army. What this can often do is Kairos will use other spells, because if they don't see infantry for a couple minutes, they're going to start using blue fires and other things like that, and then you start to bring in your infantry. Khorne does have infantry that do have spell resist via the bloodletters, but still, they can get almost one-shotted by that spell, especially if it's a direct hit on those bad boys. So this is a bit of an experimental build I've been messing around with, and it is the double Khorne lawnmowers. We have the blood shrines here, which are heavily armored, and many of the Tzeentch shooting abilities, like the blue horrors, the pink horrors, they don't really have a ton of armor piercing, so having 110 armor really does help the survivability. And on top of that, the blood shrines of Khorne do have the Tomb of Endless Bloodletting, which is nice, but more importantly, they have the Gore Feast. So when they're in melee combat, they're going to be constantly healing as well, which gives them really good sustainability in a matchup that is all about, not getting your stuff sniped. Aside from that, we got a bunch of Khorne dogs, and these guys are really good against pendulums due to the fact that they have a relatively low model count and are in a bit of a loose formation. Pendulum really does like next to nothing to them, and they're excellent against a lot of Tzeentch stuff. Now, where they struggle, you don't want to be fighting Chaos Knights unless they have support, Doom Knights, some of the heavy hitters like that, but if you can get on the blue horrors, the pink horrors, Flamers of Tzeentch, Furies, Screamers, like most of the Tzeentch roster, the Khorne dogs are actually really, really good against. In the back, we have one Chaos Warhound, just all sad over here in the corner. Look at these guys, just kind of hanging out. Although they probably have the best job, to be completely honest. They're just going to be capturing objective number 3 as soon as that opens up. Now, for my opponent's force, pretty standard. It's going to be Kairos Pendulum Weaver up here in the sky. And he's going to be dropping some of those pendulums with Gaze of Fate. And Scroll of Tomorrow, or does he have Scroll of Tomorrow? Let's go ahead and double check here. Scroll of Destiny. This is the one that gives you extra reserves, which certainly isn't bad. Scroll of Tomorrow is pretty good if you want to just instantly do a ton of damage with like double blue fire or double pendulum, but I think in the Khorne matchup you don't really need it. Aside from that, it's going to be a Soul Grinder of Tzeentch. Ooh, an interesting choice. This bad boy does have the anti-large shooting, so pretty good at shooting down Khorne dogs, shooting at Bloodthirsters, and isn't a slouch in melee either. I do like the Soul Grinder. I've actually been seeing it used pretty effectively in the Kislev matchup, because a lot of Kislev players really like to spam double or triple Bear Chariot against Tzeentch in the beginning, and having the anti-large armor-piercing shooting against Chariots I think is quite good. In the back, it's going to be a lot of infantry, blue horrors and pink horrors, moving up on the middle objective. Things are certainly going to get spicy. Let's get this party started and have some fun. So here, the Blood Shrines of Khorne, just trying to juke a little bit. I didn't know if I was actually being shot at there by the Soul Grinder. He kind of I think he summons like a javelin of magic and throws it. It actually looks pretty cool. It's kind of like throwing the lightning and Zeus and all that stuff. But he's just kind of hanging out across the reach here. He does have 250 range, not as much as like a big cannon, but pretty similar to like the Skull Cannon, which, oh man, I love the Skull Cannon. I've been trying to find matchups in which I think it's good. I mean, it does have similar functionality to the Blood Shrines of Khorne, but these guys, they heal in melee, whereas these Skull Cannons don't, right? And Tzeentch is really good at, scooting and poking and really wearing things down, so I think having the capability of healing is pretty big. Now, my opponent moving his main army up to objective number 2 here, and objective number 1 is going to be pressured by a single blue horror of Tzeentch. I was quite excited for this. Saw an opportunity to get some fresh fish over here, so we're going to be getting in the big Bloodthirster, who does have the Deathbringer ability, the one that gives him plus 50% to his combat stats. And the lawnmowers, or I should say the motorcycles, the Harley Davidsons of Khorne, going to be surging over here, just as loud as a real Harley Davidson. They're very, very loud motorcycles. And up in the sky, we have a little bit of a duel for a second, but Kairos does have these shields of Tzeentch, so he's not going to be taking too much damage. And a pretty good volley there. I mean, even still, one blue horror getting a nice volley does, a fair amount of HP damage there. Yeah, about 300-400. But we do get the jump, and the lawnmowers are going to be getting in here. And yeah, the big man comes down from the sky as well. And many of these little dudes, the little smurfs, I suppose, going to be getting run down by the lawnmowers of Khorne. Now, for the rest of the battlefield, it looks like Tzeentch is going to be positioning to pressure the middle as well as objective number 3. The Soul Grinder, I think, is just shooting from downtown against some of my bigger targets. And my opponent with a really good counter summon, he does summon in Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, so that pretty much counters most of my units here. Granted, the Blood Shrines of Khorne do have pretty good armor piercing, so there is a chance that they could punch back against the Chaos Knights, but it's not going to be super effective, and honestly I don't want to get tar pitted there, so I kind of feign the retreat. I pull back this way and I finish off the blue horrors, and it looks like the Chaos Knights are going to be going to protect objective number 2, as it will be opening up here in about 25 seconds. So the damage value, I wish it really showed it in replays, but the damage value at this point was about 400 to 400. So even though I wiped out a unit, the amount of damage he was able to do on my Blood Shrine as well as the Hounds was pretty much equal in terms of like overall battlefield real estate, but I think it's more valuable still to wipe out a unit completely. So I do summon a Shielded Warrior, probably should have been a Halberd. Chaos Knights are going to be threatening here, but they have 100 armor and Chaos Knights have really bad armor piercing, so looks like we're just going to be having a good old standoff here, as I do get the downhill charge on him, but he's going to be retreating here, not wanting to charge up into the hill. Also, probably a good call, because if he did charge, I do have my reinforcements right here, so he could get swamped and tar pitted a little bit. Now, back objective being captured by the Flesh Hounds of Khorne. Going to be growing some crops back there, and here we do have the Chaos Warriors pulling back to the objective, as I do summon in the Chaos Warhounds from the back that I kind of forgot about. I didn't summon them in, I just forgot about them, but they move on to objective number 3. We do have the double cultists on the battlefield now. Now, one of them is on foot, I think, or no, they're both mounted on horseback. Okay, I did do it correctly this time. I always kind of screwed that up, and my backs are turned to the shooting, so unfortunately the silver shields aren't going to be helping. But my game plan here against a really static, relatively slow Tzeentch build was just to kind of play the 2-cap game and use my mobility and my flesh mowers here. Well, that's actually, yeah, that's 40k. These are the blood shrines to move in and just do what damage I could. Now, Blue Fire of Tzeentch coming in, and this is what I'm talking about. You know, I do have some infantry on the field, but not too many. Like, my opponent a little bit kind of relaxed on pulling the trigger on the pendulums here. But look at the DPS. Despite the 110 armor, I still take so much damage there on the Blood Shrine of Khorne. Brutal stuff. Now in the back, my Doggos just barely captured the objective. Some Chaos Knights were summoned from the pits of hell, and they are going to be chasing down my poor Doggos up and through the back of the map here. Certainly giving them a good old hunt as the Flesh Hounds of Khorne do flee the scene. Chaos Knight's going to be moving back to objective 1, but I was happy to kind of hold that for as long as I did. And now the big Bloodthirster is going to be jumping in, tar pitting on the Chaos Knights, while the Flesh Hounds or Khorne Dogs, as well as the Blood Shrines of Khorne, going to be coming over to help in conjunction with the Cultists of Khorne, who can summon Bloodletters who have good armor piercing against the Chaos Knights. Now back across, Big Chicken just kind of flying back and forth. Tzeentch kind of has been a little bit trapped up in the middle, but nothing that a good pendulum can't fix. I do summon some of the spawn of Khorne, and here comes the dreaded combo. You guys are ready? From 100% HP to... it's going to be pretty low. Yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. And that wasn't the worst cast for me in the world. If it had been a little bit further back, I think it would have done more damage. But even still, that Chaos unit is terrified, it's running, and it's pretty much going to be a non-factor for these upcoming engagements. As the Big Chicken moves in, the shooting and Chaos Knight surging towards the objective, and to roadblock them because I lost my front line there. I'm going to be summoning in some Bloodletters. So Bloodletters will be jumping in to fight these Chaos Knights with Tzeentch, and we'll keep them at bay, hopefully. On the other side, pretty big victory here. The Chaos Knights did get swarmed by the Khorne Dogs, who are quite a bit faster with 95 speed. And the motorcycles of Khorne also going to be Tokyo drifting through and really running over many of these Screamers. And the Screamers are good when supported, but by themselves, they just get absolutely wrecked. So we do maintain the 2-cap for now. Tzeentch in a little bit of a pickle, right? Because the objective that they need to get and they have the most power towards is objective number 3 here. So if they keep moving to objective 3, I'm going to be sitting happily on 1. And due to the mobile nature of my build and Tzeentch's relatively static build, we are able to get some good bouncing back and forth here. So some Screamers kind of chilling up in the sky, while Big Chicken tries to get the objective himself. Granted, he can't capture it. And a Pendulum going down on my poor Bloodletters. And the spell resist does save a little bit of damage, even with the dreaded bounce back. So yeah, Pendulums are very strange. Sometimes they can like bounce off walls. It's a really, really weird mechanic here. But the Bloodletters, still doing pretty good. Cutting through the old blue horrors of Tzeentch. These guys are wavering. They're getting crumped pretty good. And now we're going to be going for the middle pretty hardcore. We do get the Lawnmower Squad moving into the pink horrors, and they probably haven't accrued a ton of value, but I think their battlefield presence has been pretty good as we continue to play the objective game. Now, obviously, in the beginning, if I tried to take a head-on fight versus Tzeentch, I would have been absolutely wrecked. And hopefully, you guys are seeing how the bouncing back and forth between the two objectives with the mobile build, this actually works pretty well with Nurgle too. And I've been experimenting with the Nurgle build against Tzeentch, where what you do is you just get a ton of Pox Riders in Forsaken, and you play the objectives. You don't really worry about, like, you know, fighting them head on, and you don't even bring a Lord. You just go super, super wide, and it's been relatively effective. I mean, I haven't tried it against like super high level players. It's worked on ladder, which of course is a really, really good kind of practice ground. And man, I have to say, guys, I'm really impressed about how much better like ladder players are. There's a lot of players I don't recognize who are, I'm seeing them beating, you know, really solid players from Warhammer 2 tournaments, and it's really cool to see so many new people getting into the scene and doing so well. I think it's really, really certainly promising for the future of the game here. So, Chaos Warrior Halberds moving on over to objective number 3. Some Chaos Warriors did survive that earlier, going to be intercepting those spawn of Tzeentch. And the Lawnmower Squad and the Flesh Hounds, that's pretty much been the entire build. And, you know, the Bloodletters with the, or excuse me, the Bloodletter summons with the Cultists have been really good at providing armor piercing where I need them, and not giving too many pendulum targets. There has been a couple, but really in the beginning, The problem with giving good pendulum targets in the beginning of the game is it really just gives you like very little battlefield agency, whereas like if pendulums hit you later when you have a big army, it's not quite as bad. I mean, that's still really disgusting and super punishing for sure, but it's not quite what it is in the beginning. Because in the beginning you have very little, so if you're just taking a shot like that, it really sets you back. Chaos Warrior's doing pretty good, despite just being punished by that pendulum earlier and having their armor sundered. They hold on like champs, but Kairos eventually going to be coming in, and this is a really good way to get rid of Tzeentch units in general if you can just hammer and anvil them. So in the front, you send in some halberds and rear charge with Chaos Furies of Khorne. These guys have crazy DPS. Actually, of all the Furies, they don't have the highest DPS against armor, that would be Tzeentch, but in terms of like general targets, Chaos Furies are so good against light armor when they're Khorne focused because they do have the Frenzy and the extra weapon strength and all that stuff. Now, Tzeentch, a little bit slower, like I said. The Chaos Knights have been pushed off the battlefield to a large degree, and the Blue Horrors of Tzeentch could be trying to capture this objective, but the Khorne Dog mobility going back and forth has just been devastating. And meanwhile, in the middle, a pretty good pocket here of the Spawn of Khorne, and that's another thing I've been testing. I feel like Spawn of Khorne are one of the better ones in the game. The 190 weapon strength is so good. Unfortunately, the Tzeentch one seemed a little bit bugged. They don't really do their ability, which is the Soporific Musk, so hopefully that gets fixed down the road. Now, Lawnmower's doing their thing. I mean, obviously these shooting units otherwise would be causing problems and shooting into the middle, and yes, I could interrupt them with hounds and things like that, but the Blood Shrines of Khorne, I find them very, very difficult to get rid of, and you can see they are slowly getting through the shields. Although I'm a little bit disappointed with their overall damage output. I find that the Blood Shrines of Khorne don't really do a lot of damage. You think they would, but I guess it's only 200 weapon strength, and it's more about their staying power here. So my opponent responding here with a couple Screamers and more Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights, of course, a very good intuitive counter against the Fleshhounds, but when there's a big angry Bloodthirster and other supporting units like the Blood Shrines who have a ton of armor, the Fleshhounds are really able to actually nip at the heels here of these Chaos Knights, and these Chaos Knights here are broken. And on the back objective, it looks like Kairos is going to be going for another dreaded pendulum, and they have been really devastating this game for sure. I mean, this is a unit that has, let's see, how much spell resist? I think it's like 30%? 25%. The pendulum still almost like one-shots the unit, and it will probably lead them to crumbling. Like, if he pendulums and then moves in and attacks them, they're crumbling instantly. So it's just like, it's so much value on that spell. Now back here, Lawnmowers of Khorne moving up. My opponent going to be surrendering there at that point, though, because he's pretty far behind on points, and I was quite ahead on value at that point. And dude, look at the big alpha up in the sky with the whip moving in. So GG, well played. And I think that build was cool. I'd have to test it a little bit more in like a tournament setting to say like, yeah, this is like meta. This is going to be good against Tzeentch. I don't know. The double Lawnmowers didn't get good value, but they give you like armor piercing and mass, which is really tough for Chaos Knights and Doom Knights to fight. Like if you get the double Lawnmowers against like some Chaos Knights, they're not going to do a whole lot, and the Chaos Knights will take slow casualties. So I'm kind of thinking maybe there's something about this. Now for the reinforcements, I liked it. I think it was fine. Probably cut the shielded Chaos Warriors and just get more of the Bloodletters, but I mean having a shielded warrior against like the blue and pink firepower I think is good, but yeah, I was pretty happy with it. My opponent's build was cool as well. I mean, Kairos just pretty much guarantees value every game he's in. Soul Grinder did pretty good as well. Was able to get some anti-large shooting, but in the end, we were able to kind of drag it down. But really, the name of the game was my opponent losing the mobile fights. He obviously held the middle pretty well, but he sent small partitions of his army off to the sides, like the Chaos Knights and some of the flying units, and they just got outvalued every time by the mobile Khorne Goon Squad, the 2 motorcycles, the dogs, as well as the big Bloodthirster. So that was pretty neat for sure. So GG, well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, and for anybody struggling with the Tzeentch matchup, give it a try. Let me know what you think. I actually do think that Khorne versus Tzeentch overall as a matchup is relatively even. I think it's like slightly Tzeentch favored just because they're like, just have so many strong tools, but I think it's like very close. I think that Khorne can certainly take down Tzeentch. They have a lot of really good units. Just got to watch out for those pendulums. That's pretty much it. All right, take care of yourselves. Thank you for joining. We'll see you on the other side, and that is it for now.